The late afternoon sun streamed through the curtains, bathing the small salon in a golden glow. The sound of scissors snipping filled the room, sharp and steady. Each cut echoed louder in the heart of Mrs. Taylor, the mother of the millionaire. "Stop, please stop." Her trembling hands reached out, voice cracking like fragile glass. "That hair, it's not just hair. You don't understand what you're doing." Across from her stood Emily, the young woman with a determined face, the millionaire's girlfriend. She held the scissors with confidence, strands of silky black hair falling like feathers to the floor. Her jaw was set, her eyes burning with quiet defiance. "Mrs. Taylor," Emily said softly, though her tone carried steel, "he asked me to do this. He wanted change. He wanted freedom." The mother's lips quivered. She shook her head violently, clutching her chest. "No, no, that hair is his pride, his identity. You can't just take it away." The rhythmic snip, snip, snip grew louder, slicing the tension in the room. Emily didn't flinch, didn't pause. She knew this wasn't about hair. This was about control, about love, about proving something much deeper. The mother's voice broke into a desperate cry. "My arms are tired. I've carried him all my life, fought for him when no one else did. And now you're cutting away his soul." Her words hung in the air, raw and trembling. Emily's hands shook for the first time. The scissors paused mid-air. Her eyes darted to the door. Why hadn't he come yet? Why hadn't he stopped this storm between the two women who both loved him in different ways? The silence grew heavy. Only the ticking of the old clock on the wall filled the space. And then, heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. Fast, urgent. The door creaked open. It was him. But when he saw what lay on the floor, his eyes widened in shock. What did the millionaire see that made his heart stop cold? The door slammed against the wall as Daniel, the millionaire, rushed inside. His eyes darted to the floor where long strands of his once prized hair lay scattered like fallen memories. What happened here?" His voice cracked, sharp with disbelief. Emily froze, scissors still in her hand. Her knuckles turned white from gripping them too tightly. Her chest rose and fell in uneven breaths, as if she'd been holding back tears. I was doing this for you," she whispered. "You asked me to help you let go of the past. To start fresh." But Daniel's gaze didn't leave his mother. She stood there with her shoulders trembling, her lips pressed tight as though sealing away a scream. Tears shimmered in her tired eyes. "Daniel," she pleaded, her voice fragile, "don't you see? She's cutting away everything you are. That hair, your father loved it. He said it made you strong, like him. It's his legacy, and now it's gone." The room grew colder. The ticking clock sounded deafening. Daniel's chest tightened, torn between the two women who held pieces of his heart. "Emily," he said slowly, trying to steady his voice, "why didn't you wait for me? Why didn't you let me decide?" Emily swallowed hard, her lips quivering. "Because I was afraid you'd never choose for yourself. You'd keep clinging to what holds you back. I thought if I acted, maybe, just maybe, you'd finally be free." Her words cut deeper than the scissors ever could. Daniel's fists clenched at his sides. He glanced at the pile of hair, then at his trembling mother, then at Emily's teary eyes. Each second stretched like eternity. Finally, he whispered, almost to himself, "Maybe freedom comes with a price." The silence that followed was heavy. His mother gasped faintly, her eyes widening at his words. And then, without warning, Daniel turned toward the door. Emily's voice shook. "Where are you going?" He didn't answer. His footsteps echoed down the hallway until they faded, leaving both women frozen in the thick silence he left behind. What choice would Daniel make, cling to his mother's past or embrace Emily's vision of the future? The night fell heavy. Daniel wandered into his study, a room lined with shelves of old books and a portrait of his late father hanging above the fireplace. The crackling flames painted the walls in gold and shadows. He sank into the leather chair, staring at the portrait. His father's eyes seemed to watch him, stern yet kind, just as they always had. And the thick mane of hair, just like Daniel's had been before Emily's scissors touched it, looked almost alive in the painting. His mother's words echoed in his head, "It's his legacy, and now it's gone." But Emily's voice fought back, "I thought if I acted, maybe you'd finally be free." Daniel buried his face in his hands. His chest heaved, torn between guilt and longing. "Dad," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Am I betraying you? Or am I betraying myself by holding on too tightly?" Outside, the wind howled, rattling the window panes. It was as if the night itself demanded an answer. Suddenly, he heard soft footsteps. He looked up. His mother stood in the doorway, her figure small against the shadows. "Daniel," she said gently, though her voice trembled, "you don't understand. Your father's hair wasn't just about looks. He swore it gave him strength when life tried to break him. He asked me to protect that tradition, to pass it on to you. That's why I begged her to stop." Her eyes glistened as she stepped closer. "If you let it go, it's like letting him go. And I can't." Her voice cracked, and she covered her mouth to stifle a sob. Daniel's heart ached at the sight. He rose, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. "Mom, maybe strength isn't in the hair. Maybe it's in the choices I make. Maybe Dad wanted me strong enough to decide for myself." But before she could answer, Emily's voice rang from the hallway. "Or maybe," she said, appearing in the doorway with tears staining her cheeks, "he wanted you strong enough to move forward." The air turned sharp with tension. The three of them stood locked in silence, the fire crackling louder, the shadows dancing like restless spirits. Who would Daniel listen to, his grieving mother or the woman who challenged him to let go? The silence shattered as Daniel's mother stepped toward Emily, her eyes fierce despite her tears. "You don't know him like I do. You've known him for a year, I've raised him all my life. You think cutting his hair makes him free? It makes him lost." Emily's hands shook, but she held her ground. "Lost? No, Mrs. Taylor. He's been lost because he's been living in your shadow. Always carrying the weight of his father's ghost. I did this to help him breathe again." Daniel's chest rose and fell like a storm-tossed sea. He felt like he was drowning between two voices pulling him in opposite directions. His mother's devotion. Emily's determination. Both born of love, yet both tearing him apart. Finally, he snapped. "Stop it." His voice thundered, silencing the room. His hands trembled as he pointed to the pile of hair on the floor. That was never my father's legacy. His legacy was his courage, his kindness, his fight to rise from nothing. You both forget that." His mother flinched as though struck. Emily's lips parted, stunned by his outburst. Daniel's voice cracked, raw with emotion. "If I keep this hair just because of him, then I'm not honoring him. I'm chaining myself to him. And if I cut it just to prove a point, then I'm not free either." The fire roared in the fireplace as though agreeing with him, flames leaping higher. His mother whispered, almost broken, "Then what are you going to do?" Daniel's eyes glistened. He stepped back, taking in both women, the two pillars of his world, each holding opposite visions of his future. And with a trembling breath, he said, "I'll make my own choice." But what choice would Daniel make, and would either woman accept it? The room felt like it held its breath. Emily clutched the scissors to her chest, while Mrs. Taylor wrung her hands, her knuckles pale. Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady at last. "I'll honor Dad, not by wearing his hair, but by carrying his strength. And I'll honor myself by letting go of the things that hold me back. From this day, I live by my own choices." He reached for the scissors in Emily's hand. For a moment, their fingers brushed, warm, trembling. He smiled faintly at her, then turned to his mother. "I'll keep it short, Mom. Not because I disrespect Dad, but because I need to be me. I need you to let me grow in my own way." Mrs. Taylor's lips quivered, her tears spilling freely. For a long, painful silence, she said nothing. Then slowly, she nodded, though her heart ached. "If this is truly your choice, then I'll learn to accept it." Emily exhaled shakily, relief softening her face. But she didn't smile. Not yet. She knew scars remained. Daniel took the scissors, looked at the last long strand hanging down, and cut it himself. The snip echoed like the closing of one chapter and the start of another. The three stood together in silence, the firelight wrapping them in warmth. The storm inside finally quieted, though the air still carried the weight of change. Daniel lifted his chin, his voice calm but firm. "No more shadows. No more chains. From now on, I write my own story." And in that moment, both women, his mother and his love, realized something. He was no longer the boy they were fighting over. He was a man, standing tall in his own right. Would you have sided with the mother who wanted to protect tradition, or the girlfriend who wanted to push for freedom? And more importantly, if you were Daniel, which choice would you have made?